Hey, what's going on? So after you watch this video, you are going to be leaps and bounds beyond the other white belts because you're actually gonna have a game plan to go into rolling, and also you're gonna have a heads up on how not to break a leg, which, yeah.
And when you find your passion, it ignites you as a person. You just feel awesome.
So when you first start rolling, there's a couple of important things. But first of all, you are going to start from your knees. And the reason why when we start a roll, we start from the knees, especially as a white belt, is one, for safety reasons. As a white belt, you're not as familiar with, how to do a judo throw correctly. So typically a lot of schools will not allow you to start on your feet until you're a blue belt or above. And also, one of the other reasons why your instructor may not let you start from standing and prefer you start from your knees is mat space. So if you and your buddy are about ready to roll and you're standing on your feet, you're going to require a lot more space to perform a takedown. So if there's a lot of people on the mat, then you could run the risk of running into somebody else, which isn't good. So when we first start rolling, as a white belt, you're probably most likely going to be starting on your knees. This is typically how all rolls start. As you progress, I definitely recommend asking people to start from standing. That way you can get in some practice from standing. From your knees, this is super important, all right? So this is going to prevent you from breaking a leg. So when you start from your knees, you never, ever, ever want to start with one of your feet out like this. Can you see it? Let me back up. Out like that. This is bad. This is good. This is better. I'll go over this in a second. But this is bad. Good, bad. The reason why it's bad to have your leg out like this, you never want to have your leg out like this when you're rolling or even during class when you're practicing, because if somebody pushes you backwards, there's nowhere for your leg to go except to break, which is horrible. So definitely keep your legs tucked underneath you. The school that I go to now actually had a person break their leg because his leg was out like that. So this is bad on either side, right? This is bad, this is good. Now, when you first start from your knees, I remember when I first started rolling, it is super awkward at first because you don't know what to do. So I'm gonna key you in on what to do. When you first start, I recommend starting from what they call a combat position. So one leg up, one leg down, and hands ready to start grip fighting, which I'll go over that later. But this is a very active position. You'll find this position in other arenas as well. Like, for example, if you're in somebody's guard, let's say their legs are around me and I break their guard, this is a great position to be in to start your passing game. So why not start as a white belt in this position? That way you're already comfortable with it. So, I mean, you can start from both knees like this, that's fine, but this is definitely a more active position. You can start grabbing lapels and making moves from this position. From this position, it's a lot less active. This position, more aggressive. So here we go. So let's say me and you were gonna start rolling. We'll both, crouch down in this position. Lots of times you'll have like a little hand slap, not like a high five like this, but like a horizontal slap and then a fist bump. Some people just do fist bumps. Sometimes it's awkward because you'll go in for a slap, they'll go in for a fist bump, and then but we'll shake hands, what they call it, and then we'll start. Now when you first start, here's what's gonna happen. More likely than not, your training buddy, your partner, is gonna grab your lapel. Now, so you're gonna be like this, and chances are you're gonna get a hand on your lapel. Now, the biggest mistake that I see from beginners is ignoring the hand. And I'll give you a little story, all right? let me give you an example. Let's say you're at a party, right? And let's say you were talking to, one of your friends, and all of a sudden he reaches out and grabs your shirt. Would you just continue on the conversation, or would you stop and address the fact that your shirt is being grabbed? You know what I mean? When somebody grabs onto your lapel, that's important to address, because they can then control you based off of that grip. And you want to limit the amount of control that your partner has over you. That way you can implement your game. If they have control over your lapels, that's not good. That means they can start doing stuff to you and get you down the rabbit hole of a bunch of stuff that you don't want to have happen. So this is basically called grip fighting, right? This starts from your knees, this starts from your feet. When you start to do competitions, grip fighting isn't really, I don't think it's addressed and focused on as much as it should be, because that is how the confrontation, that's how the roll starts, either from your knees or even from your feet. So if somebody grabs onto your lapel, especially as a beginner, this is so great to start these fundamentals and to really get these ingrained, is you need to address it, right? You don't just keep on talking about the weather. If somebody grabs your lapel, that is your primary thing to address. So if somebody grabs your lapel, your instructor is going to teach you a bunch of grip strips. So if somebody has my lapel, I can take my fingers, roll it into their sleeves, and do a grip break like that, like a two-hand grip strip. There's also like a bow and arrow grip strip. There's a bunch of ways to grip fight that either your instructor is going to teach, or if he or she hasn't taught it yet, just ask them. So yes, grip strips. Now, you're starting the roll, right? You're in your combat position. You do not have your leg out. You're in your combat position. You fist bumped, you've shaken hands. They try to grab your lapel and you've stripped that. Now what do? Your primary objective is to get your opponent on their back. So one simple way to do this is to just kind of push them onto their back and try to get into a side control position from there. That's basically the simplest thing that you can do. Knowing what your objective is when you first start a roll is pivotal, because when I first started rolling, it was just really awkward because I didn't have a goal and I didn't know what to do in the beginning. So combat position, strip the grip, and your goal is to get into a good position. So try to get past their legs and onto their side to be on the top side of side control. Now, if you haven't watched these two videos, I highly, highly recommend watching these two videos, because these two videos outline the different positions in jiu-jitsu, and it basically outlines a hierarchy of where you want to be in all of these positions. What else? Oh yes. So when you do start rolling and you're in, the initial few minutes and things start progressing, where you don't want to be is on your back. Anytime that you are on your back and somebody is on top of you, they have a lot of parameters of control over you, and that's not good. So definitely don't let your partner get you on your back. That's another reason why wrestlers have such an advantage, is because they have, they come into jiu-jitsu pre-programmed to never be on their back. So it is like fire to them. They'll get on their backs and it's just not happening. And it's very good in jiu-jitsu to have that mind frame. That way you can go for more dominant positions instead of just being on your back. Yeah, I know, if somebody's in your closed guard, there are submissions from there, but if you could pick anywhere you want to be, having somebody in my closed guard is not my number one. I would rather have their back. I would rather have them in mount. I would rather be on top in side control. I mean, there's plenty of other places you want to be. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching. I'm so happy that you decided to do jiu-jitsu and you're going to be looking at your first roll. So, you know, just remember, don't stick your leg out. Start in a combat position. Try to get some grips of your own. Defend any grips. Get those grips off of you and try to get past their legs and push them on their back and make sure you don't get pushed on your back. In summary. All right, so thank you so much for watching. Realize bjj@gmail.com if you have any additional questions, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
It's all about humanity.